Welcome to LDL. I mean, you've watched all the other videos, right? So you know that's short for literary device lectures. It's catching, I think. I'm Gabs, and today I'm going to be teaching you about assonance. Now, this is lesson 9 in a series of 12 tutorials on literary devices. Now, if you haven't seen the rest, I'd highly recommend you go and check them out. So today we're going to be covering the definition of assonance. We'll look at a few examples, and then I'm going to analyze assonance in the form of a sentence. Then we're going to pick a quote that has assonance in it, and I'm going to analyze it for you exam style. Let's head over to the definition. Assonance is when the same vowel sounds repeat to create a vowel rhyme. Remember, vowel sounds are A, E, I, O, U. A little memory story, a bit of a sidetrack. When I was growing up at school, we had a caretaker who was just adorable. Like, he was this little old man. He's basically out of a Beatrix Potter short story, and he was called Arthur Potts. I'm immortalising you, Arthur Potts, on YouTube. The funniest thing about this guy was whenever you asked him a question, before he replied, he'd go, A-E-I-O-U. And he had this proper northern twang. And like, whenever I think of assonance, I think of Arthur Potts. So that's your little memory tip. Think of Arthur Potts, the A-E-I-O-U, northern twang, and you will not go wrong. Now, reining in the sidetrack, let's look at some examples. After every sentence we read, really focus on your feelings, okay? I'm all about the feels, guys. All about the feels and the good vibes. Mull it over in your mind, those emotions. Inhale, exhale, and hold the image of what the quote is conjuring up for you in your mind. Think of maybe 2 to 3 emotive, descriptive words, and that'll help you elucidate your feelings. 1, there's no place like home. 2, the scars across your arms. 3, shamble through the groves of orange marigolds. 4, the sweetest berries I've ever eaten. 5, the divine right of kings. So hopefully you have a few descriptive words in your head, 2 to 3 for every sentence. If you don't, pause the video, really mull it over, and then once you feel like you've got a grasp, hit play again, and let's see what I came up with. So, number 1 from little old Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz. There's no place like home. For me, it conjured up love and longing, you know? There's a doting to the sentence. Number 2, the scars across your arms. For me, I got aches and pains. That was the emotion I got. Notice as well, I forgot to mention this, but the descriptive words I'm using, I focus on the dominant assonance, the dominant letter in the quote. So for number 2, it's scars across your arms. It's the dominant letter is A. And I've used 2 descriptive words where the dominant letter is also A, so aches and pains. So there's a little tip there. And even for there's no place like home, number 1, the dominant letter is O, no, and home. And I've focused on descriptive words that are, again, the dominant letter is O. That is the assonance, the doting longing. Number 3, shamble through the groves of orange marigolds. It feels wholesome and nostalgic, and the dominant letter is O. Number 4, the sweetest berries I've ever eaten. It's delicious. You can almost taste the berries in the text. And there's a sense of vibrancy and energy. Number 5, the divine right of kings. Now, this makes more sense if you understand what the divine right of kings means, but it feels regal and righteous. In Shakespeare's time, a little side note here, in Shakespeare's time, the divine right of kings was the belief that There's a chain of being. That's also another word for it, the chain of being, where God selected the king directly. And that was the way it was. It was, you didn't question God. Yeah, it would have been a bit awkward if you did. But the divine right of kings was where God selected the king. And, you know, he had heirs, and it would usually be the firstborn son that would be the next king and the next king. But there'd be a direct line, or the divine right of kings would be in that sort of hereditary process, or that lineage of the first son to be king. Now I'm going to unpack quote number 3. So here's my analysis. Assonance is used in the lines, "Shamble through the groves of orange marigolds." The repeated O sound creates a tone of voice which is wholesome and nostalgic, as though the writer is looking back on a fond memory of playing among the flowers as a child. So things I did right. I mentioned assonance straight away. I mentioned the quote straight away. I pinpoint the assonance. I pinpoint that vowel. I say, the repeated O sound creates a tone of voice which is wholesome and nostalgic. And then I bring in my descriptive feeling words. And then I wrap it up with the last part of the sentence. And again, this is about using your imagination. Like, what do we think the reader, or what do we feel that the reader is thinking about when they write this? I've interpreted that as a fond memory of playing in flowers as a child. Just some final thoughts. Remember, there are 12 literary device lectures. This is number 9 on assonance. So for my next upload, make sure you subscribe so you can get to it first. Tell me what you learned in the comments below. And if you want to get your hands on this deck, head to my Patreon. Lastly, come say hi on Instagram. I would love it if you just shot me a direct message. So I think that's all. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson. Well done for sticking with it, and I'll see you next time.